Hey there, welcome to SharkCast Pod, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks, who are on their way to Melbourne, not quite yet, but in a few days, to play in a grand final qualifier, a preliminary, as we call it in rugby league. And I am here to talk about this and everything else with my good buddy, Kieran Fraser. He's got his own show called Catching Up with Kieran over coffee about Cronulla. And we've got a lot to talk about in a not long amount of time. Kieran, can you believe this is where we are? Because I, in a lot of ways, can, in a lot of ways, can't.
It's where I expected to be. It's not where I thought I would be probably a couple of months ago, but now it's here. And again, it's the style of football the Sharks are playing. It's the siege mentality. It's the noise that's coming out. It's the intensity. It's the defense. And they're turning people into believers. But still, they sit as $7.50 outsiders to win the competition compared to everybody else. So a little bit more respect, please.
More respect. We'll get to that too. Kieran, you're right. People are starting to believe, as in the local community and the fan base worldwide, the Sharks fan base, Shark Nation. People are, I'm noticing in this line of work that we do, people are really like, people in particular that I notice week to week who are like, no. Now it's like, yes, we can. And that's fair enough. Like we can, like they've seen the difference. And it's really cool to get to this point where everyone is jumping on in their belief and their support. And that's what it takes. We saw it in 2016. That's what it takes. It's super exciting. I'm super happy for everyone involved, but the job's not done. Massive task this week, which we'll get to. I'm starting to think a lot of people, including myself, don't realize how big that task is going to be, but it's very doable. It's just, we can't be mucking around down there, and we'll get to that. Let's talk about what we saw on Saturday night. Exceptional performance, particularly that second half. First half, great defense, pretty poor ball handling and errors. Was there a point in the first half, Kieran, where you thought this will come back to bite us?
I think there was some of those drop balls, right? From, Kennedy, Katoa. It was the Brayley pass. That was in the first half as well, from memory too, right?
Not sure.
Yeah, well, just seeing some of these errors and Ramian dropped the ball too. And I just thought, geez, like, we look nervous. And I know Toby got off to a shaky start. I think he might have had an error or a penalty early on in the game. And I was getting flashbacks to that Panthers game last year where we started really bad. And even the Melbourne game last year when we started really bad in the finals. And I just thought, geez, it's not looking too good here. But the one thing that made me really confident was that defense. And if I went back and watched the replay last night, there was a number of times where they stopped the Raiders like 1 meter out. And it was effort after effort of that last ditch defense. And I know that the Raiders did score that try through Horsburgh by, getting that ball down. And you would like to have seen a little bit more desperation and effort in that instance. But outside of that, like, the shots that they were throwing at us, we were handling really well. And Hudson Young, they were doing everything to put him and Nico one-on-one, and Nico was, all over him like a rash. So I wasn't really too concerned. And then when our bench started coming on, I started feeling a little bit more. But I think when I went back and watched it, I was kind of blown away by that period of 5 minutes is really all it took. And it was where they just took that 5-minute window and they got it done. So it wasn't a case of a lot of stress, but those high balls were giving me a little bit of grief. And I was thinking of Mr. Docking and Cameron Munster's boot this week. So I'm sure they'll be doing a lot of torpedoes at training this week.
Yeah, and I would love to see any of the back three who have trouble with that just drag the ball back. You saw Will, and he kind of just bounced forward, obvious knock on. If you're going to have trouble and you are going for it, just bring it back a little bit. So it's not a forward motion. I'm not a fullback coach, Kieran. That's not what I'm here to do. But I always just think of that. But I'm not in that situation. But having said that, the 5-minute period, are you talking about right before halftime?
right before half time,
Yeah,
right? And again, like they just absorb so much. And Fitzy said it in the press conference. When they did those errors, there was no flinching. And that's what made him really confident. And I just thought like that was just unbelievable for us too, because we have been in these situations so often and we have flinched. And I
yeah,
think it's just that progression now of, this is our fourth final series together. This will be our second prelim. The team knows each other. The team's angry. The team's upset. And they're not panicking. And the Raiders team, by comparison, was inexperienced in those sort of games. Even the Roosters team last week, even the Dogs the week before, right? It just seems like we're really battle tested and battle hardened in these sort of situations now. And we're going to need it going up against Melbourne.
yeah. Different story down there, and we'll get to that. I promise. I thought that the halves were terrific on the weekend, led by Trindle, but Nico was terrific. They made a point of saying that in the first, I don't know, 10 minutes, or maybe it was 15 minutes, he'd made 15 tackles, mainly on Hudson Young. And I really like where Nico's at because he's playing a really important role, but he's letting his mate also do a lot of things. And his mate's probably a little bit more flash, whereas Nico is, I know Nico's the 5'8" in theory, like reverse the numbers, but Trindle sort of has your trick shot moments, excuse the pun, whereas Nico just plays really good footy. Like we saw him get Euro out in that line break that almost led to a try.
Wilton.
And Wilson, that beautiful try assist. I'm not suggesting it's not flash, but I just think he plays a lot steady a game when he lets Trindle do his thing, and vice versa. It's a great relationship they've got right now, and to be honest, they had to get it right because they've had enough time. I personally am one of those people that I raise my eyebrows at the fact that they need more time. They've had enough time, and right now I don't know if they're at the peak of their powers, but they're probably the best they've ever been, which is fantastic. Kicking game is also awesome. The kicking game that they've got between them now, where they don't rely on, like, one of them is not the dominant player necessarily in kicks. They can rely on each other. Whoever needs the ball can get the ball. They're both kicking well. It means Nico's kicking a lot better because he's not kicking every ball,
Mm.
and just really set us up nicely. Of course, the forwards did their job to allow that, and I thought aside from maybe Jesse Ramian being a little bit off his game, I thought everyone else was pretty much on their game, and that's okay with Jesse because someone's got to be the player that's not the best, and I know he can improve. So I'm going to see improvement there. I don't want to see him shooting out that line this week, but great team performance, man. Like, and that's what it takes. And the not flinching is awesome. The not worrying, the not panicking. I thought Will Kennedy had some shaky moments, but he really had some amazing moments too. And I found myself saying, oh my gosh, he's at marker about 8 times in the game, but he found his way back, and whether it was luck, whether it was skill, whether it was placement, we didn't get found out there. Now that may be different this week. And I realize he's doing a job making those tackles and being the guy at marker. But I did find myself saying that. Did you notice that more this week? Was it a this week
I
thing or is it
did.
an every week thing?
I noticed it this week, and maybe it's because the stakes are much higher, but I definitely
Yeah.
did notice it a few times close to the line because I was thinking they're going to put a short kick through here, and we've got nobody back there. But to his credit, he was sprinting as soon as that ball would touch
Absolutely.
the foot, and somebody was always there in cover too. And when you go back and look at some of those stops, because I think there was like at least 3 that were stopped like literally centimeters before the line, and we even forced them into a double movement because of that as well.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely a tough performance from Will. And, we have seen him in the past, if he drops a ball like that, and we've seen it from Katoa as well, that they can compound these errors. But that didn't happen on the weekend. And
No.
again, that look goes back to me, and I look at this and I say, this is why we keep that back 5 together. And I've seen some comments saying, you bring in Hiroti and all that type of stuff for Ramian, but I just can't agree with that because, again, that connection, that's meters that they make, and that stability there, that they look at each other and go, we got this. I think now it's just an actual belief in the team, right? So some guys are going to be better than other guys, and some guys will be down, other guys will be up. But I think as a whole, that is such a connected unit, and I think that they can cover each other and their deficiencies. But from a Will perspective, I thought it was a very tough and physical game that he played, because some of the carries he took were just getting smashed, and all the back five, really. There were some of those sets where we were making 10, 15 meters, and it was the same against the Roosters. But we said we didn't care. We just kicked the ball back, and we said we're back out of fence, and I love to see it.
I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't know what the saying is. I don't want to mess with a warm body, but look at Canterbury Bankstown and what they did with. Is that the saying?
I've never heard of that saying. That sounds a little bit strange to me. But anyway, play on.
What is it when a body is no longer with us, but it's still?
I have absolutely no idea what
I'm watching too much CSI. I don't want to pour hot water on our friend Winston at the Bulldogs, but that's poor coaching when you're messing with that team so much in and out, in and out. You saw it yesterday as well. And there is no way this team of ours should be messed with from the past 5 weeks up until the grand final run, because that would be bad coaching unless it is health related. So as I said, I'm okay with one of them having a 6.5 game like Jesse did, because the rest of them are kind of at 8. And Jesse did some good stuff. He ran really good meters, and he's a big time player. I remember him in Vegas was great. Like he's got it in him. So I've got no issue there. I just want to see a better performance. And to be honest, he's the only one I can really pick apart as someone who had a slightly negative game. The rest were fantastic. So
Yeah,
that was the only reason I brought that up. Brilliant scenes down there. Huge turnout for Sharks fans in Canberra. Congratulations to everyone that made it down there. And there's a real spirit going on. And let's get into the media stuff. How did you feel with the 2 players in particular being so outspoken about it? Were you comfortable with it? Like, take the results out of it. Were you comfortable with how it was before the game?
absolutely, Sam. And I consumed every bit of content I could last week around this game,
Yep.
because I was really bought into this mind shift change. And I think it was that line in the sand moment. And to see the carry on from some of the people, like there is a clip of Andrew Voss just talking about it, and the carry on from Greg Alexander was just
Yep.
next level. And
Yep.
I've posted this online, and just he was jumping around and flailing about, and just the carry on was just unbelievable. And then to see him sit on Fox Sports yesterday say, "Well, the Sharks got my respect after they beat the Dogs." It's just completely different. It just shows you the change of narrative. You know,
Yeah.
Brayton Astor was on his podcast saying that this game wouldn't be close. Willie Mason was saying it was going to be 13 plus to Canberra.
Really?
Um, yeah, there was a lot of people out there sort of said that, look, the Sharks
What did
have.
they base it on?
Well, it was just based on the fact that Ricky was going to get these guys up, and
Oh,
Canberra's been the best team all season. The Sharks in big games, blah blah blah. The same lazy narrative. And so I went down and broke this on a forum post where I went back and looked at the different finals performances that we've actually had. And if you go back and look at it, I am making excuses because I think they're valid excuses. The loss against the Cowboys in 22 was a bad loss at home. But again, we had Tracy playing on the wing. He's not a winger. He got sin binned. He bombs a try at halftime. We lose an extra point, right? After that game, we then lose 2 players from that team. And we were no chance against South, mentally drained, 6s and 7s. Going into 23, we were out of form. We were messing with the combinations. I think Matt Moylan was in the team for half the year. We bring in Tricky. It wasn't flowing, right? So again, we weren't really there, but we almost beat the Roosters. Okay, so it wasn't as bad as it looked. We took the wrong option when we were supposed to go for a field goal, and Brayley went the different way. Okay, so again, these are learning experiences. These are building blocks, right? Going into then last year, we were 0-3 in finals. Guess who's 0-3 in finals right now? It's the Bulldogs under Serraldo. But there is zero noise about that. So again, factor this in when you see all this noise. Last year, we go down to Melbourne. I think we were nervous at the start of that game. We didn't play well, okay? Come back to Sydney, beat the Cowboys convincingly in a good game, then go up against Penrith, put our fists up for 60 minutes, okay? So the finals record was nowhere near as bad as what has been made out in the media. When they're going back to teams of like 2017 and trying to
Yeah,
reference that for this
yeah,
crop of players, like again, this is, if you look at Moylan, Trindle and Hines, this is their third proper season together. They switched halfway through that year, so again, give them a bit of leeway there. But now's the time, and when Nico says we don't get the credit we deserve, everyone was talking about how bad the Roosters played. The Roosters did not play bad, in my opinion.
no,
They were very physical against us, and they threw everything up against us. And we were $2 outsiders at home, okay? We were $2 outsiders against the Raiders in Canberra. And now
yeah.
everyone's saying, okay, we're going to give the Sharks a bit of respect, all that type of stuff. And it's not about betting agencies or anything like that, but I think the third favorite to win the comp of the teams left is like $3.15, and we're at $7.50. So again, we are
Can you?
extreme outsiders.
We're not about betting here, but can you look up the odds for this week?
So I have looked up the odds for this, and I have put some money on this because again, I've successfully paid for my trip to Melbourne by betting on the Sharks the last 3 weeks. And again, I hate
Now, we're
gambling.
not.
Don't do it. No,
Yeah, we're not advising people to do that. No. But what are the odds?
absolutely not. It's $2.78.
Okay.
So again, we're extreme outsiders in this one too. And to Nico's point, Nico's not talking about himself. He's talking about the consistency of this squad for us to be at the top end of the table. Now we're going to our second prelim in 2 years. And to be in the Final Four the last couple of years, we are never given a chance. We're never considered for anything, right? So I love that he came out and said that. And to have people like Andrew Voss, he's saying, well, can we not talk about, Brenton Nicker's finals record was 1-7 going into 2 weeks ago, or whatever the case is. That's fine, but we overachieved in a lot of those seasons. And realistically, would it be better if we weren't there? If we were like a West Tigers or the Bulldogs
Yeah.
that weren't in the finals
No.
those years. There were some years that we overachieved with the roster that we had. Like quoting our team from 2020, where we had like Dugan in the centers and all this type of stuff. Like it's just irrelevant now.
Just on that, I can guarantee you, in fact, I know for a fact that every player in the current squad and every player that's ever played does not give a rat's about past finals games that they were not in. So if you start
100%.
talking about the 2017 to say 2020 squad, it's irrelevant to our current playing squad. It matters a little bit to us as fans. Like I actually understand the narrative where they go, you guys have won 3 games since 2016. That's not very good, because it's not. But you broke it down really nicely. There's circumstances. So people who listen to this show have a brain and they know that it's circumstantial. This year, this went wrong. The next year, then every year is different. So I understand the media narrative, but I can tell you that, it was the same in 2016. Mick Ennis is like, this isn't on me. The fact that this club hasn't won anything for 50 years. It's on me if we don't win this grand final. Absolutely. But they did not give a rat's, even that team, about the past. They wanted to do it for the past. They wanted to do it for Miller, Eddinghausen. They wanted to do it for everyone in the district. But they didn't care about the fact they hadn't won one. That's not a thing. So if anyone is even concerned that it's on a player's mind, it doesn't even factor. It doesn't come into the radar. Now, Ronaldo said, probably less eloquently, get that up, we don't care. Nico was a bit more talkative about it. I should point out he was pressed a little bit to talk about it. He didn't necessarily make the outspoken statement, although there is a report that on the Saturday night after the Roosters game, media were waiting to go into their area, and Nico came out and razzed them, and he went, oh, there's all the people that don't believe in us. So he sort of started that. And you know that the media people are going to jump onto it. So he is involved. He wasn't pressed to say it. He started the conversation, and then they pressed him and he kept going. The great thing is we put a line in the sand. I love the way Fitzgibbon talks in the press conference these days. Yeah. He's a bit more open. He's a bit more stubborn. I love the fact that after the Roosters game, he came out and said we got nothing, because they didn't.
Yeah.
I thought on the weekend. No, he doesn't. I thought on the weekend against Canberra, the ruck was fine. There were a couple of weird decisions that I wasn't happy with. And if I was him, I'd be one of those annoying coaches getting in touch with the NRL and saying, you sure that went forward, et cetera, et cetera. But won the game. I'm intrigued by this notion that people thought we were going to lose by 13 plus, we've had the best defense since round 19. Round 19 is like 9-10 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people aren't realizing that we're actually fit for a change. Normally at this time of September, like
Yes.
even last year, we
Good
had
point.
Ramian coming in and out of the team. Ramian had a busted ankle. A year before, Nico had 8 weeks off before the
Kennedy's
finals.
always injured.
Kennedy, I think, missed the final in 2023 and and 2022. He was busted as well. So we've actually got our
Sorry, you've got to
team
stop for a
together.
second. The Carson Wentz highlights have come on. No, just go on. It's okay.
But we're actually fit for a change. And I
Yeah.
know we don't have Hayden and we don't have McInnes, but as a whole, we're actually really strong in our key positions. And if we were to lose people, it's from our middle, and we've got so many middles, we can cover that at the moment. This is not a time where we're having to put Cipher in the centers with an ankle injury, and then
Yeah.
he misses the week after. Like,
That's a good
we
point.
were in that position a couple of months ago when we weren't looking good. And that's why I love that we're actually confident, because those guys are looking around the room and Nico's looking at Ronnie, and Ronnie's 100%, and Ronnie's looking at, Katoa, and all these guys are going, well, we're actually all together at this time of year. So now's
Yeah.
our chance to actually say it. So I think when the media have been doing some of these takes, like, they haven't actually gone back and looked at the teams we had put out and the ins and the outs before that game, because it is an excuse, and I get it. We should have won some of those games, especially the Roosters game and the Cowboys game at home. 110%. We should have won those games. But there are circumstances, and now we're fit. We're saying there's no excuses, and we're backing ourselves. So I love it, and I love the whole. And I think it's feeding into the intensity that they're playing with, because now they're saying these things. And Anasta was going out saying, "Oh, he does himself no favors, Nico. This is why he gets hammered." Blah blah blah. But Nico's he's being Nico, and he's saying, like, well, nobody rates us. Every time we win, we get told because the other team didn't play good and all that type of stuff. And you watch, some of the media will change the narrative. It'll be about Canberra's performance and Fogarty and Strange and all that type of stuff, right? But the reality is, we defended our line like there was no tomorrow, because there wasn't. And now the guys have got a belief, and I think that's the big change in the Sharks, is they're actually believing in ourselves. They're not looking around the room going, "Oh, we're busted here."
Yeah, for sure. It's a great point you make. Let's look towards Friday night. It's a short turnaround for everyone involved, particularly in comparison to Melbourne. Melbourne earned that. We get it. It's not a complaint. I wish that sometimes we could plan these things out a little bit better, where even if we had a week kind of thing would be more doable, but it is what is in front of us, and that's fine. There's no excuses, as you said. We've been working towards this since November, so it's go time. From the coaches to the admin to the media people, we're ready to rock, and it's exciting. It's going to be a big challenge. Now, I don't have it in front of me, Kieran. I don't think you do either. We'll get to that stuff during the week, but I did want to just say something that I said on the show on the weekend, that our record down there is not good at all. There's this notion that we can go down there and we have a great record down there and that kind of thing. We don't. We've had a couple of wins. There's been one win lately that was really impressive, and we have gotten them a couple of times. But overall, our record down there is horrendous. Now, that doesn't matter, again, because we're talking about the past. We're not talking about now, and it's exactly the same. It's the same conversation we had about players not looking back. The club's not looking back. They're not going, "Oh, we've got a bad record down there." It's like, it's a new week. Like, we're going down there to win. It doesn't matter. But just to get that notion out there that we've got a pretty good record, I don't think we do. And I'll double check that, but I don't think we do. Now, they've had a couple of weeks off. We'll find out their team during the week. Hughes may play. If he plays, he's going to be broken. He's one of the best players in the comp. There is no doubt about that. So even if he's broken, it worries me. But having said that, one tackle goes wrong, he's gone. The flip side of that is Peasant plays. He's phenomenal, but he's young and inexperienced. So there's pros and cons no matter what they do. I really think this week, Kieran, we'll have to do our study on Melbourne. The winger situation is huge. It's the same as the Roosters game. It's game changing. It's pivotal. Having said all that, it's all about us playing our game, holding that ball. Hold that ball, you win the game, man. I'm convinced. I'm convinced if we can be over 85%, we're going to win the game. On the weekend, I think we got up to maybe 79%. We got away with it. At one point, we're at 59%. I know people listen to those numbers and just sort of fall asleep, but they're factual and they're super important. So we can't be giving away penalties. We can't be letting them have heaps of possession. It's all about the Sharks, and it's kind of good because it's in their hands. Like if they play well, they'll probably win the game. But if they go down there and fart ass around and give away penalties and drop the ball, particularly like the first half, I can tell you Melbourne's attack will be a lot more potent than what Canberra's is. It doesn't mean we're going to bend, but it's going to be a lot different, a lot more difficult. So can't stress that enough. But I do think winger aside and spine aside, it's all about us.
Yeah, and the 6 day turnaround, I don't think for us is the end of the world. We had a bye 4 weeks ago, right? So it's not as if we've had a huge block and we've had to rest players and all that type of stuff. And I think, again, it feeds into the mentality that we are fostering, right? Where it's us against the wall, backs to the wall. Look at this. We've now
Sure.
got a 6 day turnaround. And the flip side of that is if you do win, you get a 2 day head start for your prep for the grand final on the Sunday game. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. If you look at the game when Melbourne played a couple of weeks ago against the Bulldogs lost by 8 points. So the Bulldogs got 18 points. And I genuinely believe we're in a much better position than the Bulldogs are right now. I think we've got a lot more momentum than the Bulldogs have right now. And I think last year's experience of going down to Melbourne and playing that qualifying final in Melbourne, different circumstances. It wasn't do or die, but it was to get to a prelim, and we really needed to win that game. So I think going down there based off that and that feeling of where we were at, I think it's going to help us a lot. And I also go back to the performances this year. Now, Melbourne dusted us up in Melbourne this year. That happened. We were in all sorts at that time. And I think that was kind of one of the last games of that bad run that we had. The flip side of that is we played them at Shark Park and absolutely gave it to them in a really good game. If you can remember, that was when we had Ronnie switching sides with Atkinson on the wing, and there was a huge battle there with him and Coates. And I think that sort of stuff is going to really fire up some of our guys, because at the time when that happened, a lot of people in the media were saying, what's going to happen when Cronulla and Melbourne come up against each other in a big game in the finals? Because Melbourne's going to be all going after Ronaldo. And Ronaldo, you've made yourself a target, right? And I think for where we're at right now, that's good for us. And I think we need to feed off that.
Yeah, it's a great point. The ending, of course, we won't forget, where he was in a bit of a tussle and we weren't sure which way the penalty was going to go. And I will say, though, he needs to control that aggression. You know, it's something that can go either way, especially depending on what referee you have. If they're in a mood that they want to punish you, or if they've got a bit of leeway. They don't like to give away penalties in finals, but it doesn't mean they won't. And I'm all for Ronnie being chirpy and getting into him, of course. But yeah, he's got to know when to, like, it's got to be like that Roosters game. You know, if you're going to say it, you got to walk the walk. And I have no doubt he will. But yeah, you're right. Melbourne will definitely be targeting him. But the other problem we're going to have is Sione's going to get the kicks to him. And he was phenomenal against Melbourne. He wasn't so good with the kicks on the weekend against Canberra.
He was great against the Roosters.
Sorry, is that well? I can't remember who I just said, but the Roosters is what I meant. And he's got it in him. That's the great thing. So
yeah,
he knows they're coming. The whole team, the club, they know it's coming. And the same with Jesse. Jesse's got to protect him without giving away too many penalties. You know, so it's a hard job. It's a hard job, but I think you win those battles, you win the game, and it's going to come. Unfortunately, it's going to come down to something like that, like a kick to one of their tall wingers, and there's nothing we can do about it but attack it and just do what you can. And against the Roosters, they did a great job, and I would imagine the Roosters are probably on the same level as Melbourne with their kicks and with their guys catching.
If not better. So
it's a good sign. We just got to back it up again. And I got a feeling it's going to be a classic, my friend. It's going to be, unfortunately, for our our minds and our bodies as fans, it's going to be a real close one. It's going to be a real battle. But we know a lot of people are traveling down. They're going to have good support. It obviously will be less than Melbourne, but we're going to paint that town black, white, and blue, and just everywhere. Like everywhere. Like I know at Cronulla, they had a massive turnout for the game on the weekend, and all the local clubs, our friends at the Royal Motor Yacht Club, had a big night. Like people are buying in. Like a very well-known street near Mr. Paisley's, which leads down to the stadium in a lot of ways. There is a whole bunch of houses last week. I'm not sure about this week. It'd be even more, but with the flags up and colors out. So people are really buying in, which is fantastic. It's what this time of year is all about. I keep saying it's kind of crept up on me a little bit, and I don't know why I say that or why it has, because it's been an absolutely long season starting out it started out at the Hall of Fame, I guess. But for some reason, this week has crept up on me. Maybe I don't want it to end, and I'm not suggesting this week we end. I just, you get that feeling when the league season's kind of almost over. Like grand final, not so much your club, but just there's only like 3 games to go and we're done,
Yeah.
Kangaroos aside. So, but we're there. This is where you want to be. And the only thing that could be better would be if we were in Sydney, and we're not. And that's okay. Like it's a big world. We've traveled to Vegas. We can travel to Melbourne. So it's exactly where we want to be. I mean, I think going to play Brisbane in Suncorp would be just as big a task. I think it would be slightly
in the day.
It'd be slightly more difficult because I think their attack's a little bit harder to read, and that'll be a problem for the week after potentially. But I think this week playing Melbourne, like, there's just, like I was saying to my son, like at this point, it doesn't matter who you play. Like you're going to play someone pretty good. If you're in the last week before the grand final, it's going to be someone who deserves to be there and someone who's pretty good. You can't really, you can't control these things. So I'm pretty excited, man. I'm pretty pumped up. If people are still watching the live stream from Saturday night, this is a continuation. I actually haven't stopped. This is in like hour number 400 or whatever. We appreciate everyone who joined that. That was one of the most fun things I've ever done, Kieran, is just talk about the Sharkies for 3.5 hours, and just the calls are coming in from all around the world and people on the bus, and the messages were like, I think in their thousands, just people, it was just amazing. So I appreciate everyone doing that. But people are here to see this team do really special things. And let's talk about the coach before we head off. Coach is doing great things. I want people, if they still have it on their recorder, to go watch the Channel 9 coverage. It's something I don't often say. And there's a lot of commentary over vision of the dressing room. And there's a moment where you can see Fitz talking to players individually. And there's a lot of people in the room and everything. And there's a moment where he gets to Billy Burns, and it's obviously their first interaction post-game. We haven't even spoken about Billy Burns. And he's like, hey, great game. And Billy's like, yeah, thanks, da-da-da. And it's kind of jovial. And Billy sort of looks away. And Fitzy sort of gets his serious look and sort of gets his attention and goes, hey, and he's looking him in the eye. And he says like maybe 15 seconds of dialogue, 20 seconds of dialogue. And he's obviously telling him like, you've done something real special. I appreciate it. Believe in yourself. He said something inspirational, and Billy's face just changes and he's just like super serious. And it's just a great coaching moment, I thought, where they're in a winning dressing room. They've shocked the world. Everyone's in a really good mood, and he's got this guy's attention, and he's changed the mood. And just to let him know what he's feeling, like man to man, I shouldn't say man to man, person to person. And I just noticed that. I was like, that sums up who he is. And yeah, if you have that vision, go watch it, because there's a whole lot of things you'll see quite revealing. Like it's a great insight into what's going on in that club. But tell me your thoughts on Fitzy.
I loved his press conference, and I've loved his change in demeanor. I loved his directness with how he's speaking about where we're sitting right now. And, his comments about Fanua Blake and the relationship that they've got where he's like, we're going to have to source you. How long have we got in you? And Fanua Blake says, whatever you need. And
Amazing.
I think just that sort of stuff and how we talked about, the challenges in a very succinct way about Fanua Blake and how he's become a man and evolved as a person and as a leader. And I think a few years ago, we probably wouldn't have had a Fanua Blake in our team. And I think it's been the change of fits to realize that we need different personalities and characters and all that type of stuff. Because when we first had that run in 22 under him, it was very nice guys, right? It was Cam McInnes, Dale Finucane, Nico Himes, Fitzy, right? Even if you look at our middles, like, Royce Hunt, like it was very different. It was a different vibe. It was very positive and very happy, jovial, and all that type of stuff. But now it's kind of like we've gone through all this experience. We're a little bit jaded. We're a little bit angry. We're a little bit pissed off. And now we're kind of at the point where we're just really direct and to the point because we know what it's like. And Blake Brayley has touched on this when he spoke about, we've sat in the bunker bar and we've talked about, well, next year we'll do this, next year we'll do that. But it's right now.
You and I have
we've
done the
got
same thing.
opportunity. Wait, in that exact spot in that bunker bar. And it's just, I feel like Fitz has, and I think this is me thinking about it myself, right? I've been very critical about how we've used our bench this year and our playing style and all this type of stuff. Now, has it been a plan to get to? I know they operate in blocks, right? Was it the plan to get to that bye and then to do the flood the middle, super physical style that we're seeing of the Sharks? Because there has been a real direct change in our physicality, our defense, and our bench rotation. Atkinson has gone off the bench since the bye, right? Like he might have played one game here or there, but there has been a conscious decision for us to go with size, power, go through the front door of teams, get Brayley out of dummy half, and then see what our edges can do. And going into the season, that's what I was desperate to see because we now had Fanua Blake and all this type of stuff. So if he has timed this perfectly, he's got potentially one of the best coaching runs the game has seen to get the Sharks up for a 6-7 week block to finish the year. Because if you look at momentum right now, we have it in spades, and so does Penrith, and I would argue so does Brisbane. Melbourne's always Melbourne, right? They can be good one week, and they're not so good game is still an 8 out of 10, right? So they're just super consistent. But I just feel like there is a tsunami of belief. And to your point, we're seeing it in the community. I was at the markets on Saturday at Sutherland. Every second person was in a Sharks shirt or had a Sharks hat on.
Amazing.
Down the beach as well yesterday, there was flags. I saw every second or third kid, I swear, was in a Sharks jersey. He's built now this belief and this momentum in this squad where, I was disillusioned. I was angry. And now I'm seeing them do exactly what I was thinking that they were capable of. And now I'm all in, right? So I think Fitz has done a tremendous job with this. And this is a real chance for us to go down to Melbourne and put ourselves in a tremendous position. Because, again, if you can get that done, the belief in the squad will be as high as ever. And I want to ask you a question, Sam. Last year, we were a little bit busted, up and down, and we went in to play Penrith in that prelim.
Yep.
What was your thinking then versus what is your thinking now? Because going to that Penrith game, I was like, we're no chance here. Like if we keep it close, I'll be happy. Whereas I'm genuinely of the belief now that we can go down to Melbourne and we can put our fists up because we're the style that we're playing, the roster that we've got, and the momentum.
I think fully fit last year, I thought we'd go close against Penrith. I remember when they ran out, and forget about whatever I said on the pods and everything else, it would have been from the heart and the truth. But when they ran out and it was raining and it was a weird feeling, TK was drunk next to me, I honestly didn't know what was going to happen. And that means anything. We could win or we could lose by 60. Like I don't know. Like I had no reason to think we'd lose by 60, like any factual reason. I didn't know. This week, I'm telling you, it's going to be tight. It's going to be close. We're in it. We can win it. Of course we can win it. We should win it. You'd sort of argue that we've been more consistent in the past few months than any club, including Melbourne. You said a 6 or 7 week run. It's a 10 week run with maybe one loss in there to the Dragons. So the difference this year is also, I feel like they're fighting for something. I feel like they realize it's last chance saloon. One of them, two of them, 8 of them could suffer career-ending injuries and never play again, right? Let's get macabre. Is that the word? And Blake Brayley is the one, the nicest dude that you'll ever meet, is the one that's come out and said, we always muck this up. Let's get it right. Let's make history. So, but more than the words, they're backing it up. My only concern I have is the difference we're going to see between the Roosters and Canberra and even Canterbury to Melbourne.
Yep.
Make no mistake, to everyone listening and watching, it is a step up. I don't care how good Canterbury were. I don't care how flash the Roosters were. I don't care how solid Canberra were. They're all winnable games week to week. Melbourne, in Melbourne, is just different. And you can take the history out of it. It's just going to be different. The atmosphere for all of our fans going down is still going to be volatile against us. They really don't like us down there. That's fine. The problem is we're playing a really good team. Now, as I said on the podcast in hour 3, I believe, forget about us worrying about them. Let's focus on the fact that we're coming to town and they've got to play us. You know, they've got to play us. They've got to play Fanua Blake. Best prop in the game in my eyes. Most consistent. They've got to play an informed Trindle. How do you know what he's going to do when he hits the line? He's really not predictable at all. They've got to play Ronaldo running at them 100 kilometers an hour. They've got to have Will Kennedy come to the left, draw the man, pass to Ronaldo to Hero. You know, there's so many factors. Jesse Colquhoun is in beast mode. The one guy who we do not talk about enough in this world, Sifa Talakai, who gets us out of trouble every week. Can you imagine playing that guy? Like, I'm hopefully going to chat to him later today, and I'm intimidated just for the fact that I've got to talk to Talakai, and he is the nicest guy in the world, but it's just, you're talking to Talakai. If you say the wrong thing, he could literally eat you alive. So they got to worry about us, and they will be. Like, I think Bellamy's the greatest coach of all time. I really do, given who he's got, what he's got, etc. The consistency. And that's who we're coming up against. We're coming up against the best coach ever, against Munster. Pappenhausen's back. They've got a whole lot of great players. It's going to be a classic, dude, but we're going to win. There's none of this. My attitude is not we're going down and hopefully we go close like it was last year against Penrith. It's like, no.
Yeah.
We're going to win. There's no reason not to win. We're in good form. I'm not a huge fan of that statement we had in 2016 of why not us, but the notion is real. Like, of course it should be us. So I'm pretty pumped and I'm pretty excited. But I will say there is caution there in the sense of I know what we're facing. But it doesn't mean I don't think we're going to win. I think we're going to win. Unfortunately for us, it's going to be super tight. If I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope we win by 1 million. But I think it's going to be a tight one, man.
So just quickly, like, let's just do one quick comparison, right? I won't go through the whole back line because, again, I think our back five can beat their back five. But again, they've got Pappenhausen, they've got Munster, they've got Grant, potentially Hughes, right? So just absolutely world-class players who can just win a game on their own.
Amazing.
But if you look at the forward pack that they put out against the Dogs a few weeks ago, they had Stefano, Harry Grant, King, Chan in the second row, Katoa, and Liero. I think our forward pack can get over the top of that forward pack. And as well on the bench, I think our bench can get over their bench. So if our halves can put their hands up and play like they did on the weekend, I believe. And again, you're talking to somebody who cancelled their trip to Melbourne earlier this year because I was like, I'm not going to waste my time on that because how much money and resources.
You actually cancelled our trip, not your trip.
Well, there you go. But again, like I was at the point where I was like, you know what? I've spent so much money, so much time away from my family on going to these things. And I just couldn't, I didn't believe. And what I'm saying now is this team has earned the belief of, I think, the Shire. And I think they can go down there and they can do a job because it's going to be a cracking game of football. And if we go down there and lose by 40, I'll be the most deflated person in the world. But I truly believe we can really go down there and give this a real crack.
Absolutely. And just on that, what you just said, everyone's all in. Everyone's, we've got people coming back, haven't been around for a while, which is awesome. Everyone's welcome all the time. You know what I want to see? I want to see people show a bit of conviction, a little bit of empathy, whatever the word is, that should the unthinkable happen and we don't get the job done, come back for round 1 next year. Don't be one of those people that just goes, well, I'm only supporting me if they're going to win every week. It's like, I cannot stand that. I'm just going to be open-hearted here, bro, like Nico. I cannot stand that BS. I'm not saying that you should put up with inadequate performances and bad behavior off the field and the whole thing, which none of that happens. But I'm saying, should the unthinkable happen and we lose by however many, whether it's 1 point or 1,000 points, don't be one of those, I'm going to spit the dummy people. Like, be better than that. Like, I hate coming out here and telling people how to live their lives because it's none of my freaking business, but we have to be better, Kieran, as a fan base. Be as gutted as you want. Be as opinionated as you want. But round 1, make sure you're there to get back on board. It's no, you know what I mean? Like, I just can't stand that. I can't stand that attitude, dude.
Yeah, and look, I think the difference is if they go out on their sword, that's absolutely, we've put in a great performance and a great
Absolutely.
effort, and we couldn't get the job done. I think I don't see us going out and putting in a bad performance. And if the unthinkable does happen, it's going to raise a lot of questions. It's going to be the same talk and blah, blah, blah. But I think we'd have to have a little bit of perspective and isolation of if something goes wrong. And again, I don't want to start thinking about that because I don't believe it's going to happen.
I'm not going to tolerate that talk, because that talk is, when I say that, I mean from the media, not from our listeners. The line has been drawn. Like, we've won 3 of the past 4 finals games.
Absolutely. That was where I was going with it, right? So I think, again, you'd have to look at it in isolation for that performance, because I think we have seen enough in the past 3-4 weeks to give even the most critical Sharks fans hope going into next season. And there probably will be some roster changes and some movement and players coming and going and all that type of stuff. But again, it's pretty stable, right? And I think if we can carry on this sort of football that we are playing now and do it over a stretch of a season next season or whatever the case is, we're getting into Blake Brayley territory here, because again, it's right now. So let's do it right now, because again, they've shown they can do it right now. So I'm really of the belief that they can go down there and they can put in one of these performances, because I feel like the journey that this squad has been on has been a 4-year sort of arc. And I think the pain of what they've gone through, the lessons that they've learned, those performances in the finals that they should have got done, has all got them to now this point where they can get it done. And if for some reason, whatever doesn't happen, I think we should be proud of how we've put our fists up this year, because, again, all these so-called experts 2 months ago were saying we weren't going to make the 8. So
and
we 4 teams left.
We can be critical of the game. Like, we're critical. We're still today talking about the Panthers prelim last year and going, hey guys, why the hell did you drop so much ball? If you don't drop the ball, you probably scrape through and win the game. So we can analyze whatever happens this week for the next 10 years. I'm totally cool with that. But that notion that we can't win big games, that it's like, that's gone. Sorry, we can win big games.
I agree.
All
and
right,
again,
Kieran,
it's there to see it. Let's go see it, mate. Let's go see Nico Hines put in another performance like that and just absolutely go into Brandy's office and do that exact dance that he was doing. Because
we do love Brandy, so let's go easy on Brandy. But you're right, he did carry on a little bit. And I tell him that when I see him. Now, there is a weird feeling, I was going to just say, a part of me just wants to win. Forget about you and I partying for 25 weeks with our listeners and everything. Part of me just wants to win so the number 7 can go,
yeah,
I'm not that bad. You know what I mean? Like, it would be so funny. A bit like the Fafita thing, like when he was the bad guy and it's like, I just won the world championship for you. Kieran, we got to go, bro. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate you. Listeners, stick around. We're not going anywhere. The live stream will continue at some point. Up, Cronulla. That's a joke from Saturday night. Let's go get it. Let's go. I can't hit end record. I'm going to edit that out.